Which flavor of English, British versus American, first had standard modern spellings? Which flavor, British English or American English, first standardized its modern spellings? I'm mostly interested in the direction of alteration. For example, was the U dropped from color or was the U added to color? I'm interested in a general answer rather than an answer to this specific example, though. The history of dictionary releases seems to indicate that British was standardized first. British, 1604, this URL, perhaps too oldie English. British, 1755, this URL. American, 1828, this URL. However, I'm not certain that any of those three dictionaries represents a modern enough standard to be considered the first real standard of English for either dialect. Clearly both languages have evolved since their initial standardization, but which set of spellings was standardized first? Edit. To clarify, I'm interested in the chronology rather than repute or popularity. Which dialect had its modern, by which I mean contemporary, present day, spellings published or released in a dictionary first?
Neither of them has ever been standardized. Once dictionaries and other manuals began to appear, many people, in particular, educators, treated the dictionaries as authorities. Having said that, I suspect that Webster's prestige, coupled with his deliberate appeal to patriotism, made his authority more pervasive in the US than anything in Britain. I haven't checked this out, though.
As Colin said, neither of them has been standardized. Having said that, I don't believe Johnson's dictionary was an attempt to standardize spelling so much as to establish usage and citation as the model of deciding how a word was used. Webster definitely had an agenda of standardizing and regularizing spelling, so you could argue his was the first and only attempt. Damn American spell checker keeps trying to put Z everywhere.
I don't agree with what others have said about there being no standardization of English spelling. When Caxton decided to print in the Southeast Midlands dialect in the second half of the 15th century, he began a process which led ultimately to Standard English as we know it today. Its first major codification, including its spelling, came with the publication in 1928, after more than 40 years' work, of A New English Dictionary on Historical Principles. That in turn led to the Oxford English Dictionary, still the reference of last resort for information about all aspects of English words. It is based on the way the language is and has been used, and its definitions, as well as its spellings, are supported by numerous citations. Standardization of the language in the United States seems to have begun almost as soon as the first settlers arrived, and American English today seems to be more rule-driven than British English. American spelling bees are just one example of a characteristic striving for linguistic uniformity. Noah Webster wanted to create a separate linguistic identity for the United States, and it is his almost single-handed effort, evident in the dictionaries he published in the first half of the 19th century, that is responsible for the American spelling we know today. Spelling is now more regular than it has ever been, to the extent that an errant spelling is almost on a level with a sin against the Holy Ghost. That would have been inconceivable in earlier times. Some words, it is true, have variant spellings, but they are small in number. None of this is to say that spelling will change in the future, but the pressure for homogeneity is unlikely to weaken.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.